Welcome, everyone. This is the Should I Start podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about innovators, creatives, and business owners for global listeners. The show is about the creative process that many artists, business men and women employ when creating their works. You'll hear from musicians, producers, poets, photographers, innovators, business owners, and more. Please subscribe to our season and enjoy. I have a very, very talented creative. This one is different than what you are normally used to. He's very diverse, he's very cultural, and his style and aesthetic is very phenomenal and unyielding, like his craftsmanship.
Appreciate you, man. I try to keep it up, you know? Try to be detail-oriented as much as possible.
You know.
Anyways, yeah, my name is Anton Tito Kirindongo. Most people call me Tito. I was born in California, raised in South Florida.
West Coast, East Coast. How long have you been here for?
Been here over 20 years, and when I was born in Cali, I literally first year I'm out. You know, we moved, so I was just born there.
Did any of your parents do any creative works?
No, actually, it was funny. I'm the only person that's really, really like creative. I come from a medical background, so a lot of people are like, "Are you gonna be a doctor like your father?" I was like, maybe, you know. And I was not at the time when I was being asked the question. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew what intrigued me the most, and that was like film, you know. So studying it, trying to figure out how they did certain things, you know, how they segue into different scenarios. I just loved it, you know. So I started in video, and then I moved to photography.
Oh, okay. What was the first movie that inspired that transition or that thought process?
Believe it or not, it was home videos.
What kind of home videos are we talking about? Vacation?
We're talking about more family-oriented films. So at a very young age, I was always around cameras. You know, my father really loved cameras. He wanted to be a photographer at the time. And I would watch with my family at least once a year. We would pull out the old tapes. And I found myself more frustrated than anything because I was like, yo, who is filming? Because it's always you know how your home videos are. They're shaky, you're not focusing, it's on the floor. It's just like, oh my gosh. So one of the main things, I was like, you know what? Give me the camera. I'll make sure I do whatever. So at an early age, I started coming behind the camera, zooming in, zooming out, just kind of like basic things. And then that kind of evolved into, you know, middle school when I got my first camera. I got a Fuji film from my father. And then it went to college. No, went to high school, then college, and then, you know, here I am. Just kept going.
I see that unyielding came as a child. There's this man who's shaking the footage
like,
up. I'm just like, give me the camera.
It's good because sometimes it'd be you in the film. It's like, I want to see me, how it was. And it was hit or miss.
Do you feel like that has died down the older and the more creative you've grown, where it's just like, man, I'm in the footage. And then you get older, I'm doing the footage. And now it's like, I want to get back in front of the footage.
You know, yeah, life is kind of backwards like that, you know. But it makes you appreciate it a lot more. So getting behind the camera was really good in the sense of the storytelling part of things and capturing the moment and kind of setting up your little scenario and whatnot. But getting in front of it, that's a whole nother cadence right there. You know, it's a whole nother feeling, you know, because you are overthinking. You're like, oh, you know, how do I look? This and that. It's a bit much, but I like both. I like both perspectives. And now I'm trying to practice a little bit more, thanks to you and this podcast, you know, getting in front of the camera, you know, hearing my voice. Everyone hates their voice. I especially hate it, so.
No, he's lying. He's just like, I didn't have the right outfit.
Yeah, I mean, believe it or not, I'd rather be in a suit, like, majority of the time. Like, I really, really love, you know, dressing up, dapper.
Where'd you get that from?
What?
Dressing dapper.
I think it was another big curiosity of mine, too. You know, I've just seeing a lot of, like, James Bond films, you know, as a kid growing up. It's just kind of like, oh, cool. And then now I'm more into the business side of things, the creative business side of things. So, a lot more client meetings. I always felt like, this is me. I've always been the one to always overdress or be the one that wears a suit. It's like, yo, Tito, we're playing ball, man. Why you coming out here in a whole 3-piece suit? So I got ranked on a little bit growing up, but it's just been a part of me, So now I'm kind of like trying to meet in the middle. So it's kind of like casual, but a little formal too. And that's worked out.
Yeah,
I'm like all over the side. I have the artist side, and I got like the super like business side as well.
It's like I can break your ankles, but just in case you're gonna sue
I'm like
me.
Prince out here with a whole little
just in case you sue me.
outfit. Just what's up? Which is cool.
You played other sports?
I started in soccer. Soccer was my first love. I absolutely love soccer. Then basketball became my thing because you go to school, you have your friends and you have certain peers that are more on the basketball side. And that's how I got into that. I'm more of a shooter. Let's go home. A lot of people from high school don't know about that one, but yeah, it's a 3-point party, man.
So you always been a shooter, and now
always been a shooter, and like in every aspect of life, I've been a shooter, man.
Yeah.
I've been shooting my shot a lot.
Okay. Do you believe in overshooting, and then just like filtering, or do you believe in analyzing and capturing exactly what it is that you need?
I mean, it's both. It's both. Sometimes if you're doing like street photography, overshooting is good. It's like you can't ever film too much. You can't ever take a photograph too much, unless you're just out of cards. But other than that, you try to shoot as much as possible. I mean, you always try to kind of envision your shot before you take it. You don't want to just go out there Rambo, just shoot everything up. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, if something is inspiring you, something interests you, yeah, you got to do that. Definitely.
Were you like that in the beginning? Were you Rambo?
I was Rambo, and in many cases I am still Rambo, but I contextualize it now, which is kind of like the same. We share the same sentiment. So it's not about now transitioning to in front of the camera, but it's like. I'm still going to be behind the scenes. I'm still going to be the one that's shooting majority of the time and creating. But, getting in front of the camera from time to time is good, like you said, to educate and help other people. Or even just, for guidance. A lot of times you have people that don't know what they want to do. It's like, I have a real interest in photography, but I'm not sure if it's a hobby or if it's like I want to achieve it for like a career or pursue it as a career. And I think that's very important too. All the situations and experiences I've had, especially a lot of failures, I feel like, I can talk about them now.
Are those
Uncut.
failures?
You got me, 100%. Ask away.
MTV signed the check.
And here's the thing, I never really had a real job. I mean, I think I was a TCT, which is kind of like a step below CNA.
I don't know what both of those are. Are you a gang member?
Huh?
Are you a gang member?
No,
you got to break down those
all.
acronyms for me, man.
Only creative industry. I'm part of that gang. That's it. But
Photoshop.
Touch care technician, and then CNA is obviously behind RN.
Okay.
So I'm a lot of older people, taking care of people. That was what I did. Nursing homes, retirement homes. That's what I did. And that was. When I was in college, I was just kind of get a little bit of money. Then I transitioned to being an ophthalmic tech. So I was kind of working with clients that need their eyes checked and whatnot. And that was just kind of like another part versus like, I need money now. I just got to do it now. And then after that, it's just been from that point on, I try to get a big job. I try to do other things. I was like, you know what? Let's just go with the thing that I absolutely love, which is, picking up the camera. And that has transitioned to all the success I've had now. It's just the opportunities that just came. That was my ticket to so many collaborations, so many businesses I work with. And I started with weddings, That's where I kind of found my style of shooting, how I shoot, what perspectives I like the most. And then it kind of built from there.
Okay, so you started off with a Fuji film camera.
I did. It was a point and shoot. Not sure exactly which one.
That was a hand? That was a hand-me-down? That was like...
No, it was brand new, but I was in middle school. So when I got it was just like, I just saw Fuji film. I didn't go to like really investigate what kind of camera it was, what its capabilities was. I just was happy to have the camera in my hand. And I was just shooting. I even took it all the way up to high school with me. And then I actually had 2 point shoots. I had a Canon, and then I had the Fuji film. The Fuji film broke. I don't know, it fell or I don't know what happened to it, but it just stopped working. I guess I overshot it. I was Ramboing it on that one. They're like, yo, no more. And then when I got the Canon point and shoot, that's when I was introduced to a bigger SD card. And then I started to really kind of, I could back up my footage. I could categorize things. And I was shooting JPEG. This is before RAW. I was just shooting completely JPEG. It was terrible. And so a lot of those memories that I have are, I can't do much with them. I can't blow them up. I can't do anything. So, but it was good for social media purposes. So I was that guy that, you know what, this event, I didn't take photos, but go to Tito, I'm pretty sure he did it. And yeah, in high school, I was always the one that had all the footage, even videos and photos. I was doing both. I was just like, let's go to clips, let's go to photos. And that was interesting. So I had my rep. It's like, okay, you're the artist, you're the creative, off bat.
So you have the photos, you have the clips.
Mm-hmm. So
what kind of program is your choice when it comes to editing video and photo?
Primary softwares are Premiere and then Adobe Lightroom.
They're both Adobe, right?
Yeah.
They're both Adobe. Okay, so you're in
For
Adobe.
those that don't know, both of them are Adobe. I don't mix. It's very difficult too. Unless you're doing like iPhoto. Yeah, so for Lightroom, 90% of my process happens there. That's where you have all your LUTs, and then if you do need to go heavy lifting, then you use Photoshop. So it's between those two. When I do edit videos, it's definitely Premiere. I do miss Final Cut though. Final Cut is the beat, man. That's what I started on.
Yeah?
No, I actually started on iMovie. Yeah.
Man,
I had a 2011 MacBook.
Oh, you started off with an Apple too.
Yeah.
Shout out to Steve Jobs.
The white girl, all white MacBook. I started there, iMovie, and then I've been Apple pretty much all my life.
No, you never segued to
Android? With my phones, Sony Ericsson to a couple other smartphones, but when it came to what I do now, it's been Apple primarily. I did kind of park and do Windows. We had like a built one that we had at the office, but that was short-lived, probably just a year. But Adobe, Lightroom, and Premiere is what I use.
Okay. So what camera do you have currently?
Right now I have the Canon 5D Mark III.
Okay.
So I believe it's like, 3-4 years old now?
No clue.
3 years, I believe.
Don't worry. We'll put that information in the
video. It's cool. It's not really about the gear. It's really about what you're creating with what your vision is. And then when you have any camera, you kind of figure it out and then see if it's able to achieve what you want. So I kind of take that mindset, that perspective on it, and it's worked out pretty well. Obviously I want to get the 1DX and try out the 5D4. We'll see. I'm actually trying to go back to Fujifilm, which is crazy.
Okay.
Got to go back to the first love eventually, And I just like it's more compact. Right now the 5D3 is still big. I got the grip on it and everything, so it's just like super massive, man. So I'm trying to go back to something a little bit more petite. So
yeah, but the weight compensates for the weight of the camera actually compensates when you're doing video and photography.
Oh yeah, for stability and whatnot.
I didn't know that. Like when you have a heavier piece of glass, when you're filming, you can get steadier shots, and when you have lighter lenses, like the plastic ones, you're just like, I'm shaking a lot more because there's no weight to counterbalance when you're.
Yeah, if you have to go guerrilla style, I'm Rambo. You going guerrilla style, hand holding things, but yeah, I think it all helps. Especially more weight, a little bit more stability is cool.
Do you believe that the professional aesthetic dictates that the bigger the camera, the more professional you are?
It's a perception. It's a perception play, especially if you're doing an event. You can't really pull out like a compact camera. They're like, who's this guy with the little bit?
Any funny stories with that?
No, I mean, I've always had the bigger camera, so I'm just saying. But it's cool, especially when you have the flash on there, the grip and everything, and then, if you're using like a 50, 1.2 or a 2470, it just makes this thing like massive. And I think it's excessive, but it does apply for certain events. When I'm shooting a lot more celebrities now, so it does kind of help with that percent, because some of them are old school. They just like, okay, photographer, big camera, they get used to that. So I have to kind of give them that still. Pays the bills.
Yeah, man.
Kills my hand though.
Why get a gym membership?
There we go. It's like, yo, this must be your strong arm, Tito. Mercy.
Yeah. I do my f-stops, I do my ISOs. Yeah. And it's like a Rubik's Cube too, so you're lifting weights and doing a Rubik's Cube.
All on one hand, mostly. This one is like your stabilizer, your support, and then everything else is, shutter, aperture, ISO. So I'm over here throwing gang side, Black Rambo style,
Black voodoo. Just like,
pretty much.
Amazing photos are gonna come out.
Exactly. They're just like, yo, I didn't even see the photo yet, but I love it.
using the secret.
That's it. The secret, man. That's a funny story itself, man. I don't believe in that stuff, but I don't believe that, you wake up one day, you're on the freaking couch and be like, I want to be a millionaire. And just because you thought of it, it's going to happen. Nah, it comes from a lot of work. You can't just jack off and be like, yo, I'm going to be great. No, you got to put in the work. You got to. There's no way. Even if people kind of deceive you into believing like, oh, yeah, one day I just did this and then now I'm here. No, it comes years and years of work. I told you I started in middle school. Even before that, I was studying. I was intrigued by what I wanted to do. So this is like a lifelong effort to get to where I'm at here. And I think a lot of creatives need to know that. It's just not, you can't just jump on YouTube, watch a couple of videos, and then, yeah, you could practice, you could experiment. But as far as developing your craft, that takes a little time, man. That's oven work right there, not microwave.
Damn. Giving me cooking gems right now.
There you go.
I feel like I'm in front of
we
Aunt
cooking
Jemima.
it up, man. we cooking and shooting.
Are you related to Aunt Jemima?
No, but great stuff.
Okay, but so we emphasize that you are a creative, a photographer.
Yeah.
Now, you have evolved into a different creative field or a different plane. I mean, not to put you in a bottle or anything like that, but what would you call yourself?
That's something that I struggle with heavily, because for a long time, it's like I have so much interest, I have so many different talents, and I've kind of like not appreciated the thought that I was a jack of all trades. This is something that I just don't feel like I am. I just feel that I'm a creative, period. Sometimes I do film, sometimes I do photos, sometimes dabbling in design, heavily in design. I love design. And then also architecture, interior design, all that stuff kind of influences me and what I do. So I was just sitting there and, me and Tams are partners now, and he's just like, you know what? You can't call yourself like a visual artist, and that's what I was calling myself for a long time. You're not just a photographer, you're not a designer, and he just said you're a conceptual artist, and I was like, yo, that's dope. Conceptual artist is what I do, because like I'm creating something from scratch. There's a lot of storytelling into it, and I'm bringing what's in my head to life. And I think I'm a conceptual artist. That's all I can say.
Do you feel like the answers to your questions come from people on the outside looking in instead of the inside looking out?
Your thoughts are not your own. You're always kind of like influenced by something else to make you think that, this is my idea. I think I started listening a little bit more. I'm not so arrogant anymore as I used to be. And I'm naturally a people pleaser, so me trying to now become more of a experienced and seasoned artist. I care about that, and I listen to people, and especially people that are credible. not just anybody off the street, you know, people that are in my industry that see me, that have my best intentions. It's the ones I kind of have my ear to, you know.
Okay.
I think that's what most creatives should do, is not just get so sensitive or butthurt when someone says, oh, this is crap or this is whatever. Who are they? You know what I'm saying? They didn't do it. You know, sometimes even if you're doing something wrong, like, you know, your ISO is too high, your shutter stock, you know, it's not good, you should always just kind of, focus on your craft. And it's always better to shoot and do what you do instead of listening to someone that doesn't do it at all and just kind of curates and critiques what you're doing. Like, that doesn't make any sense. You messed me up, by the way, just going there. I was like, oh, I was flowing. God.
So there's a difference between critiques from a customer and opinions. What would you define as a critique, and what would you define as an opinion? Because not everyone has, you know, valuable verses of gold that they can instill in other people. And especially if they aren't creatives, they don't understand that process, that you have to think of color psychology, how it's going to be implied, because you're a conceptual artist.
Yeah, I mean, critique to me is someone that is in your industry, that is a senior to you, and they're like, you know what, this is pretty good. This is what I would have done differently. You know, they just kind of give you constructive criticism. An opinion is anybody could have an opinion, seasoned or not. Just like, you know what, that just didn't resonate with me as much, or, you know, it didn't make me feel that great, or it just looked off to me. I mean, those are opinions. You can have those opinions, you know. You know, the critique to me from someone that's credible is always going to weigh more. And that's it. I mean, as a conceptual artist, it doesn't really matter. If I create something from scratch, it doesn't matter if you have someone critiquing or giving an opinion. This is something from you. This is a feeling that you had. It's something that was in your mind that you brought to life. So if you're happy with it, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Do you feel that your artistry, you've given too much to someone else after creating such a passionate piece of art, and they're just like, they don't understand it? And then it's just like, your ability to listen has evolved? I don't know where I was going with that question. So
well, I mean,
I don't know.
It's fine. I mean, I think I get what you're saying, but I'm not as abstract. So a lot of things that I do, you know, people can easily understand. It's kind of straightforward. Like, we talk about educating, we're talking about our creative, you know, craft, translating our I guess what we don't like about it, or our experiences, or good or bad, to someone else. I feel like that's a little bit straightforward. You could do it in an abstract way, but I think the message is always, the goal is to be as clear as possible. Like, I'm creating a book now called A Heart's Memory. It's been in the works for 2 years, and it's been something that I've been, you know, debating a lot, going back and forth a lot, because, you know, it is all nude art. You know, I come from a very, you know, religious background, in some cases very conservative, and, you know, I do believe your reputation and how people perceive you is very, very important. You know, my dad always told me, it's like, it's not the act, but it's what people think you're doing. You know, has a little bit more weight to it. But at this point, being in weddings, doing the events, doing celeb work, I mean, all different types of events, I'm just like, you know what, this is something that I'm going to do for me. This is something that weighs hard on my heart. You know, I definitely love nude art, and I've shied away from putting it on Instagram as much because, you know, they're not mature enough to handle it. Instagram is just like, you know, everyone's shooting a nude girl or whatever. So I try to put my things on a website or do an art gallery, which I've done, to kind of put things into, you know, a better context where people can appreciate it more. So A Heart's Memory is really, really close to my heart because half of it is done by, the writing is done by my good friend, 23 years. His name was Eli, and he's doing all the poems there. He's really great. And then I was going to supply all the visuals. Kind of like a story about my relationship roller coaster with women, period. Okay. And a lot of things that me and Eli were discussing and the experiences that we have were kind of aligning. So he wrote all his feelings, and I shot all my feelings.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's what it was. So I try to get a lot of the interesting shots with my muses being women.
Okay.
And I always thought the naked body was art in itself. You know, I've always tried to shoot where it's more interesting versus just like, oh, it's a naked woman. You know, I feel like the best photos are the ones that you don't even realize someone's naked in. So the one that really got hit with Madi Powell, my iconic shot that everyone, you know, it was in art galleries and publications and all that, of her falling into the water. They didn't even realize she was like naked. It was just like, yo, I just love the shot. They knew she was naked, but it was not like, wow, why her tits and everything's out, her booty's. No, it's not like that. It was just, I want people to be more respectful of the photo, you know, and not really respectful, but appreciate it from that regard. Okay. So that's what Our Hearts and Memories is about. It's going to be having a lot more shots like that, and then the context is from the writing.
Okay.
But he died, and that's why I really have to finish it.
See, I was waiting for the punchline.
Yeah, he died in July.
Damn.
It was a car accident. Not sure what happened, how he was just gone. So I have to finish it now.
Okay, you will finish it.
Yeah, I will.
Because the viewers at the time of watching this,
they're gonna expect something.
Hold your ass accountable.
Something, but no, yeah, I'm gonna drop it on his 30th birthday. He would have been 30 March 20th. So that's the date that I'm gonna drop the book.
On his birthday. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's deep. So, what's your philosophy on creativity? If you had to summarize it,
it's self-expression. You know, I mean, it's more self-expression to me. I was gonna say it's no right or wrong. And I think there isn't, but it depends on how you present it, you know, how you deploy it. I think that could be a right or wrong. Just like I said, hey, you know, I'm going to scale back on Instagram because, you know, that's where the perverts are. And, you know, I just don't want to be associated, oh, that's the guy that shoots nude girls, you know. So I'm trying to package it in a different way and deploy it in different ways where, you know, hey, he takes this very seriously. It is a way to connect with people as well, you know. I think that's one of the many ways we could communicate, you know, and I think that's a visual way, one of that's really more receptive, you know, one I lean to more.
Okay.
Visuals.
Nice. And now you're kind of giving some feedback about presentation, social media, galleries.
Yep. Each one has different rules.
Each one has different rules.
Yeah.
But what is your main squeeze?
My main squeeze.
You gotta keep it funny.
Coming up with these words. Main squeeze.
1970s, man.
Right now, listen, I'm not big on Instagram. I'm not huge on social media that much, even though it's my job. So every day I do have X amount of clients that I have to fulfill social media needs too.
Okay.
So I'm constantly in it, but as for me personally as an artist, not that much. Instagram's weak, you know. I'm always tearing it down because I'm developing myself as well, especially my brand. And I was never really happy. I'm not one to just be like, oh, this is working, I'm gonna keep going. If I'm not feeling it, I gotta drop it down. But to answer your question, YouTube right now is first. That's where I connect with the rest of the world. I have a curated list of people I subscribe to, and I learn a lot of things from. Pinterest is my next one. Pinterest, I just literally, like, one big mood board for me, you know. I categorize it, and I have the most following on Pinterest, which is crazy. And I've had it for, you know, I'm never breaking it down for like almost 5 years now, which is crazy too. And then comes Instagram. Instagram, I'm actually using more as like a secondary email. The DMs, man. People be jumping into DMs and, vice versa. And that's where a lot of, I meet a lot of different models. Like, hey, I love your, I see this photo. I want to do this. I want to do that. Okay, let's do it. And I think that's where a lot of that happens. Or, other businesses reach out. It's like, hey, listen, I heard this. I see this. Can you do something like this for me? So it's kind of like, my little order taker, It's like, okay, yeah, we got this. I'll fix problems in that regard.
What have you learned about yourself through your passion?
I figured out that, hey, you cannot put me in a certain genre or in a certain bottle. Like I'm more than a photographer. I'm just a creative person, period. Something that stands out to me mostly is what my mom told me. I used to struggle with this a lot. And I was like, I have all these skills. I have all these different interests. And she kind of brought it all together for me. And she said, hey, Tito, how many legs does a dog have? I said, 4. He said, how many paths can it walk? I said, 1. Damn. So even though you have so many interests and so many talents, where are you heading? You can't go in every other direction. So I was like, okay. So for me, I'm not just a photographer. I'm a conceptual artist. We brought that all together. But my goal is to educate. My goal is to share my art with the world, to, send my story, my message out there. So that gives me something direct to aim for versus I'm just creating just to create. And a lot of times when photographers ask me or they, jump in my DM, especially some new ones, they just want to create dope stuff. Okay, what is dope stuff? Sometimes they just get influenced by other photographers, be like, well, I want to do what they're doing. That doesn't say, that's going to fade. That's just, now you're treating it as like a trend. Those are the same people. That's why photography is not valued as high as it used to be, in video is not as valued, because everyone just wants to do it, and technology has made people capable of doing it. So now you have all these artists and creatives, and they're just creating, but they never soul search and be like, yo, is this who I am, or this is what I want to do? No, they just want to impress a girl. They want to just shoot nude girls because they can, because they have the camera. The camera gives you that power. But they shouldn't. Do you really want to do it? Anyone can learn anything. But the people that really, really want to do it sometimes get cut and sometimes get, not seen because of these other individuals. They saturate in the market. They're just doing it just because, which no real love for it. They just want to do it. So, yeah.
I think that's a double-edged sword. I think at that point, because I can discuss about my upcomings as a photographer and how you seen my work. You see my website, my presentation. At times you see how I execute during the event photography. Sometimes we don't start off with shooting portraits or shooting models. We shoot people that are in our immediate environment. You grew up with photography. My father took photos. My brother is an amazing photographer. He took photos. I didn't like photography growing up.
Right.
But then again, though, I had a lot of difficult and different jobs and obstacles. And I realized that if I happen to do one thing for the rest of my life, the field that has provided me the most growth and diversification is photography, video, and graphic design. Now I see the landscape of how photographers interact within each other. There's so many photographers. How do I price this? How do I go about this? How do I separate myself and become more business professional? You've already established that. Some people have to work for it. Who do you work with now in your endeavors?
You just said a lot of things that was pretty much loaded, and I'm just, don't get me wrong, I want to speak about the people that, they're just doing it just to do it, and a lot of, like, for instance, like you said, you push through a lot of different events. You're versatile in photography, you have a little bit of influence from your family members and whatnot, but Yeah, I mean, other people, they don't have that. And you saw that, hey, listen, I want to push through this. So why didn't you want to be a photographer at first? And why did you do it and are still doing it now? That's my question. Maybe that will help the listeners more, and then I can answer a little bit better too.
Okay. The reason why I'm doing this podcast. Who's doing it?
You're doing it.
Exactly. So if I wanted to jump into photography, how many photographers would they be? A lot. If I wanted to jump in the video, the number cuts down. Now, from my previous experiences, I extend and go further, and I rather do a podcast. The accumulation of things that I've learned have brought me to this point in my creativity.
Got it. Which is beautiful. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people's like, I'm sticking to it because it's doing this for me, but they don't really want to do it. You obviously had influence from your peoples. You started doing it, and now you've seen another opportunity, something that you align with a little bit better. A lot of people don't do that. And that's the same thing with me. It's like, you know what? I was all over the place, and I realized my mom was like, "Yo, you got to bring clothes. What do you really want to do with it?" And the same thing now. You want to highlight other creatives because that builds value for a lot of your listeners. So that is great. Now you're walking one path, but you're using a lot of different of your experiences and interests and talents. You have a photo side, you have a video side, design side. Now you're doing the audio visual, podcast. Like, that's growth, that's development, and that's beautiful. I wish more people would do that, and instead of just like, I just think it's cool. You can't do it because it's just cool. Then it's just a hobby. Then, realize it's just a hobby, and be just a freelancer. A lot of people are taking jobs from other people because it's cool. It's whatever.
I don't know.
I think you're robbing yourself too.
Break it down. How am I robbing myself?
No, I'm saying people are robbing themselves if they're just doing things just because. I think that's what the issue is. Let there be light.
It's a disgusting color, but you know what? You're worth it.
It's worth it. Appreciate it.
I'll tint it.
Listen, we've talked so much. We having a good conversation.
Oh, wait,
we're talking so much. The sun done left.
And it never snows here. So we can
left. This is Miami, boy.
Yeah. This is timeless. So let's go into a rapid fire. It's 7:03.
It's fine.
Okay, I'm just going to go into a rapid fire. And thank you so much for the kind acknowledgement of diversity.
Yeah. You got to,
I just fight through it. That's the truth. You just fight through it.
But
sometimes I don't want to create, I don't want to design, but the thing is just that what are the things that I can do now that can open up other opportunities? And ultimately for me is, how do you make that person feel? Because at the end of the day, we can do a podcast. At the end of the day, you can do a photo shoot. At the end of the day, you can do a graphic design project. But it depends on how that person feels. But a lot of artists are very not sensitive, but they're more open with their emotions when it comes to, like I said, criticism, feedback, and you've already touched upon it. Yeah, so it's like
super sensitive.
Sometimes we need to distinguish whose words are really important to us. Mm-hmm. So I heard you gave a shout out to Tams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I work for.
Work with,
whatever it is.
That's what you wrote. That's what you wrote. Work with. That's what you wrote. I might have to double check you on your notes right now. So.
No, it's cool. I mean, yeah. He gave me a chance. I was discovered.
How did he discover you?
He didn't actually discover me. It was I worked with one of his employees at the time. I did a gig at the Hard Rock, and it was for like a technology event, and I captured it with my boy John, and one of his production guys were there, and he was like, yo, we're looking for someone else, at our agency. I was like, yo, I gave him my number and everything. We swapped information, and he was just like, okay, I'll hit you up. A couple of weeks went by. He was like, yo, he called me. He was like, yo, and at the time, I wasn't doing so well. I just got fired from, I don't want to say that.
You don't have to. You don't have to. Just.
Anyway, so yeah, I met one of his employees at the technology event, and he said, "Yo, let's work." And he told Tams about it. I came in for an interview, and we were chopping it up. And he was like, "Yo, my people think you're a right fit, and this and that and the third." And we just got into small talk, and it was like a big open discussion. It was not something that was just me and him. And all of a sudden, Tams just stopped. He was like, "Are we hiring this motherfucker or not?"
Sounds like a character.
That was great. And then since then, he pulled me to the side. He's like, "So how much you want? How much you gonna cost me? The checks are gonna come in on time. But what you gonna do for me?" I was like, "I can start right now. Let's go." And that was a good relationship since then. He was 100% transparent. If you ask him the right questions, and then I was 100% transparent in our effort. We always wanted the same thing. We wanted to keep our clients happy and create dope shit. So that's what we kind of did. And since then, it's evolved, promotions, and now, he wants me to become a partner, and I accept it. So we work together in that regard now. So
yeah, congratulations.
Appreciate you. Yeah,
congratulations.
Nice.
I don't have that in my life.
Man, you on a big mission right here, man. This is pretty good. Keep this going.
Nah, dude. Every small action leads to bigger opportunities.
Here's the thing, yo. Philip back, he acts like he doesn't work with us, man. Sometimes he comes out, he shoots some events with us, which is great. So shout out to him on that, man. Definitely versatile, creative right here.
Yeah. Don't need to plug me in. I'm the one that's doing the podcast.
That's it, man. Gotta give props, man.
Where they're due. Okay. What are some things that you love about your passion the most?
The ability to collaborate and create something from scratch and meet interesting people and to learn from them. I think those are the biggest benefits I get, like self-gratification. I think it just kind of makes you feel good. It's just like, you know what, I'm building something and I created something. I think that's priceless right there. Especially if you're happy with it and you're just like, it's good. Obviously, as artists, we're always gonna find something that we don't like about something. But if it's good, it's good. It could be as small as just a photography series, or it could be something like a big campaign. Just seeing it through. I think follow through is the biggest word that I can think about. When you do that, it's worth it. I think that's the biggest takeaway.
Okay, you have been an incredible guest. Love having my guests. All my guests are fun. Mm-hmm. To a certain degree. I love the conversations.
No, it's good.
I love the conversations.
You like talking, period, man. We always talk about you. It's like, yo, listen, boy, Philip right here, he would talk someone off the ledge, boy. He has No, for real. You know how to talk. It was good. It's a good conversationalist. So, podcast definitely fits.
Yeah, right. About time.
Being the one we're talking about you the other day too. It's just like, oh, this guy could talk. Well, you got to be mentally prepared, and you're gonna have to need a lot of time. You better not be hungry. You better not use a bathroom. No, we appreciate you, man.
I gotta get Noel and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, you definitely gotta get
the whole team.
Yeah.
So my final question before you can plug yourself up and let everyone know where they can find you is that should I start if I wanted to do and become a conceptual artist? The younger you wanted to become a conceptual artist. The younger you wanted to find that path. Should they start? And yes or no, tell us why.
Absolutely. If I had to tell my younger self that I wanted to become a conceptual artist, because obviously I went through the ringer to get to where I am now, it would just be that same word, follow through. A lot of times we feel at a younger age we have time, and we'll do it later, or whatever the case may be. And sometimes those opportunities don't always just come back around, you know. A lot of things that gave me success now, recently, and you know, when I started in 2012, was, you know, just doing it. If I felt that I needed to do it, or I needed to do a free shoot, I was okay with that. I chose to do that. If I work for $1 million, I work for $1 million. If I work for 1,000, if I did something for free, but the effort stayed the same. You know, it's like, yo, listen, this is what I want to do. We're gonna make it happen. So yeah, I would, for someone wanting to be a conceptual artist, follow through. Focus on your brand. How do you want people to perceive you? You know, a lot of times people kind of put you in a zone, in an area, because that's easier to gravitate to, grab. Like, oh, you're a photographer. You know, like if I was focused on my brand, it's like I'm an artist. It'll probably be a little bit different because I'll brand myself a little differently. So I won't just be like, yeah, I could do photography service, when I could tell them I do more. It's like, oh, you never told me I could get you on this, and I know someone else that does this, you know? So you put yourself too much in the bottle when you just say, hey, you know, I'm just a photographer. So yeah, follow through, focus on brand. If you can't say who you are in like a couple of words, or at least a sentence, then you got to kind of restructure and kind of, you know, revisit that. And yeah, if you have 7 words, try to get to 4 words. You know, so it's all about communication. So the less someone can kind of have to remember, the better your brand is. It's like, oh yeah, I know who that is. That's Anton, whatever. Boom, boom. You know, that's Philip. Boom. I know what he does, and that's it. And then they can explain you to other people, and then it helps you on the business side, because they're like, oh, let me contact that person. They could do this. They could do that. So yeah, that's it. Follow through. Focus on brand and your messaging.
I know that when you focus on brand, and not that many people have direction, is there any tips or strategies that you will tell yourself when it comes to brand, besides communicating? Can you build into a brand ahead of time if you knew, like, hey, I like this style of clothing. I love the way that this is visually pleasing to me. I love fabrics. I love textures. Because from what you're telling me is that your representation of how you dress is the representation of how well you craft your pieces of art.
It's interesting you said that it was about fashion, because I'm actually working on a bigger project. It's like a lifestyle brand as well, called The Profound Man. But when I think of a brand, I think of a personality. What are the characteristics of what you're doing, your service or product that you're providing? If I had a conversation with this brand, I'll turn over. It needs to have a characteristic. If I want to speak to your brand, let's say your brand was a person, what are the characteristics that it may have? A lot of times, I always like to use this analogy. When you go to a party or an event, no one knows you. No one knows you at all. You know, you may have been invited, or you're coming in cold turkey. Are you going to stand on the chair and say, hey, my name is Philip, this is who I am, look at me, look at me?
Oh, hell yeah. That's me. With my crazy ass?
No.
Hell yeah.
Not even, listen, even at a bar and everyone drunk, they're still looking at that. Look at that person on the table. Yeah. Like, it's not good. Yeah. So you want to kind of finesse a little bit more. It's like, you know, who are the more popular people? Who's the people that are going to be, you know, presenting or something? These are the kind of people I want to kind of associate with. I think that's the same way we have to present ourselves on social media and to the rest of the world. You know, you don't want to just be like a noisemaker and you're just making noise. That's counterproductive. Or you're going to be known as the unruly, or the person that does have no control or self-control. So you got to really, all that needs to be critiqued very, very carefully. So yeah, you build that up, build the characteristics, build his personality, so people connect with that versus you, the individual. A lot of times you superimpose who you are onto the brand. You might as well just have yourself as a brand. It's like, for me, I'm Anton Kirindongo. So online, you're just going to see my interest in who I am. So now for TAMS or The Profound Man or whatever else I'm doing, you shouldn't see, you may see certain things, but it shouldn't be the main thing. Oh, this is how Tito talks. This is all Tito right here. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So it needs to stand alone on its own. That's what a good brand will stand on its own.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you. Now, if you can tell us, spell it out for us, any ways that we can reach you on social media or to do business with you or ask advice, please let us know. The mic is yours.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me. I'll give you the agency, Think Tams, Think ThinkTamz, and then Tams.com for the website, TAMZ.com. For me, as an artist, personally, Anton, ANTON, Kirindongo, KIRINDONGO. That's at everything. So it's like so long. And people like that because it's like, oh, it's an interesting name, it's a long name, but Anton Kirindongo, one thing, at Anton Kirindongo, even.com for the website.
Okay. Awesome.
They're going to be like, what? Kira who? Crinkle?
And then, no, it's like Kirindongo was his name.
No, for real, it is all my life.
American classic.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
All right, cool.
It works for art galleries very well, though.
Nah, my name is bougie as fuck.
Philip Talleyrand?
Philippe Talleyrand.
Ah, I like when you say it like that. See,
Yeah,
I say it so English.
Yeah.
Anton Kirindongo.
Yeah, dude. I'm like, yo, Black Panther?
Black Panther. That's funny. How do you say your name again? Say it again.
Philippe Talleyrand.
Talleyrand.
Yeah, the D silent. Yeah.
That's interesting.
You don't have to whisper it like that, too. I'm hearing the whisper.
No, I'm
hearing the whisper. That's good. Ooh.
That's hilarious. That probably doesn't sound right.
No.
Mercy.
It doesn't. Lord Jesus.
Anyways, but that's cool. You know, it's interesting to know the right pronunciation. It's very deep.
Yeah, but I don't try to correct people. It's one of those things where it's just like, as long as you can write the check and spell my name right.
Just write it right. That's it. I do the rest.
Yeah, like, oh, do you have like a PP and an E, and then like, no, it's not physics. It's not MC squared to the like the.
But you shortened it up really well as far as brand goes. Feel nice, creative.
Yeah, because I make people feel nice, and I'm a creative.
That, I mean, it's good, but for me, you got to write the whole thing. So that hook, I usually get like AK or.
Wasn't there like a joke like that?
What?
It's like it's a tribe. It's the Boondocks. The Boondocks, like the cartoon, is like, it's a pimp named Slickback. So it's like, so your name is Slickback. No, it's a pimp named Slickback.
No, that's what I.
You say the whole damn thing like a tribe called Quest.
So you have Slickback and I have the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, but it's cool. I mean, it works for what I want to get into, which is more the art gallery swag and the short films or whatever. So,
but if you do it with that accent.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I
say it so people could because they gravitate to that a little bit more. They're able to digest that a little bit better. Yeah. When I say it with the English accent, Anton Kirindongo. So whatever.
Are you related to Courtney?
Who? Courtney who?
No, just like Kirindongo. You're the only one that I know with that name because I haven't met your family.
Yeah, I have a more like a Hispanic, Dutch, Caribbean background.
No way. Yeah. I'm Caribbean, Hispanic, and then like Arabic background.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. And it's shocking because I'm more Caribbean than anything. But we just don't give credit to that.
Yeah, the same here. I mean, majority of my family's in Holland and Curaçao.
Oh.
So yeah.
Nice.
Shout out.
So I hope you guys love this video and the videos that I have been producing.
Let's go.
I love the people. I love the guests. If there's any feedback that you would like to give me, please let me know in the comments below. Yes. If you can please subscribe. If there's any way that I can improve on it, let me know. I would be glad to hear it. And I also want to know what's on your mind. This is an ongoing conversation.
Let's go.
I want to understand you guys more. I want to provide more value, more content for you. Yeah. So if there's anything that I can do, just please let me know. I'll gladly help out to the best of my abilities to provide you this content.
You're crushing it, bro. Let's go.